Hey, what is up, everybody? This is your boy AJTRIP, and welcome to the Game According to Me. This is my podcast where we talk about what's going on in the world of sports. So, we've got Championship Saturday to talk about, we've got the NFL Sunday to talk about, and we got some predictions from the NBA upcoming season. A couple games happened last night. Lakers with a big ring ceremony with no fans. They said they're going to do it again when fans can make it, and hopefully that'll be sometime in the near future, sometime next year. Vaccine and everything happening. And we also had Brooklyn looking very well against the Golden State Warriors. However, we're going to look at the entire league and not just a couple games. So that's going to be towards the end. But as always, we start with college football. So we're going to go over Championship Saturday, talk about the college football playoffs, and some look at some future bowls as well. So this past Saturday, we had a lot of the championship games for the conferences. We also had some other games as well, some makeup games. Texas A&M and Tennessee played. We also had I think that was the only one, right? He may have had a couple more, but that was the main one. Texas A&M, right? They had to play against Tennessee to try to build up some more resume for them. But it started Friday night with the Pac-12 championship game. Oregon beat USC. Then we came Saturday. We had the Big Ten game. Ohio State had a little bit of trouble with Northwestern, but with the help of that spectacular game by the running back, the most yards in Ohio State history. Ohio State beat Northwestern 22-10. Oklahoma beat Ohio State 27-21 in the Big 12 championship game, ruining the hopes of Iowa State perhaps jumping up into the Final Four. Clemson put it on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish 34-10. Notre Dame just didn't come out ready. Brian Kelly said that, they had a bad day. And I say this, you can't have a bad day. For me, when you're talking about this playoff, right? You're talking about this college football playoff. To me, you can't have a bad day on national television, on the national stage, and you can't have a bad day the last game of the season. Theirs were twofold, and we'll get to Notre Dame in a second. You want to talk about luck of the Irish. San Jose State defeated Boise State in the, I believe it's the WAC championship, or the MAC, Midwest Conference, whatever the hell they are. Cincinnati beat Tulsa. They remain undefeated, 27-24, and Alabama and Florida had a barn burner of the SEC title game, 52-46. So what did that lead to? Well, that led to the final playoffs, and what we have is the number one team, Alabama, staying number one. Clemson, with the destruction of Notre Dame, went to number two. Ohio State, even though they only played 6 games, half of what most of the other ones have played, they went to number 3. And like I said, look at the Irish. Notre Dame stayed at 4, ahead of Texas A&M, ahead of Cincinnati, ahead of Oklahoma, who somehow jumped from 10 to 6, jumped over Cincinnati. Unbelievable. And they're in the playoffs. That means we lead to the Sugar Bowl. Number 2 Clemson taking on Ohio State, and the Rose Bowl, which is now going to be played in Arlington, Texas, for Notre Dame taking on Alabama. So we're talking about this playoff, and I've mentioned this before, and I'm going to say it again. It needs to be expanded, and I think it will be. I think it will be expanded. It has to be, not only because of money, but because of everything that's going on right now. I mean, how can Cincinnati just, they just stay getting jumped by teams that are possibly not better than them? And the reason why they get jumped is because they are in, the group. They are in the group of five conference. They're in the group of five conferences. And it's certainly wrong. Now they'll play a number 9 Georgia team in the Peach Bowl, and we'll get to see just how good they are. Against a number 9 Georgia team, we'll see how good they are. But when you think about it, they should be in the college football playoff. There's a lot of people who are just like, come on now, what is this happening, right? So, but we have it the way it is, and it's just going to be like that, unfortunately. But here's what I say, and I've said this time and time again, right? And I've been a big proponent of maybe saying that the best way to do a college football playoff is to do it almost like March Madness, except you don't have to do it in many teams, right? The FCS, Division II, Division III football, they all have a 16-team playoff, right? And I think so. Why not the FBS do a 16-team playoff, right? There are 10 conferences, so have each conference have a conference champion, and they get an automatic bid. You get 6 at-large teams, and then you have the playoff committee choose those 6 at-large teams, and then you put all of those teams. Then you have the college football playoff re-rank all of those teams 1 through 16 and do the 1 through 16. Right? I've been preaching that for years. That's the best way to do a playoff, most fair way to do a playoff. And it still is the most fair, and I'm not going to complain if they ever went to 16. However, I do feel, I've come back to recently, the last few weeks, I've come to recently that maybe an 8-team playoff is the best. And the reason why it's the best is because of the bowls. I know there are many reasons why some people don't want 16, and they're worried. They are worried about the bowl expansion. They're worried about maybe the bowls, and the bowls have been a part of the FBS forever. Well, here's the thing: you can keep the bowls and just have, and you keep the bowls. You can keep the tradition, everything like that, and still have your 18-team playoffs, right? So listen to this, right? So if you do 8 teams, you have a conference champion of the Power 5. SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12. You have the automatic bid for the highest ranked group of 5 team, right? And then you have your 2 at-large teams. Again, voted on by the College Football Playoff Committee, right? And then what you can do is you can use the pass, those BCS bowls. You can use those bowls as the first round of the playoffs. Now, the first round of the playoffs, they wouldn't be ranked. They wouldn't, or at least, well, okay, I'll say this: they would be ranked, right? You would rank them, but you wouldn't put them like 1 through 8, and you wouldn't have them do it like this. You would have them go by the bowls, how traditionally they've been. So, for instance, the Rose Bowl has always been, well, not always, but it's traditionally the Big 10 champion versus the Pac-10, Pac-12 champion. Now, since the BCS has happened, that we normally don't get that. And when we do get a Big 10 versus Pac-10, Pac-12 team, it's usually not a champion because one of the 2 teams are playing in the title game. So everything. But what you can have now, if you do it like this, is you can still have the Big 10 champion take on the Pac-12 champion. Meaning that you would have Ohio State, if you're going by this year, you would have Ohio State taking on Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Okay? Now let's go over to the Sugar Bowl. The Sugar Bowl, usually you have an SEC team, right? So why not do it like this? So you have the SEC team being in the uh, uh, being in the Sugar Bowl. You would have them face one of the at-large teams, right? You would have in the Orange Bowl. You would have that. It used to be. I believe it was the big. It would be the Big East versus the ACC. I believe. I believe, right? But that's no longer the case. There is no more Big East. But what you can have is you can have the group of five, the highest ranked group of five, take on the ACC, right? You'd have it there. And then the Fiesta Bowl, you can have the Big 12, right? The Big 12 champion take on the other at-large team. So if we go to, you're talking about Alabama versus, let's just say, Texas A&M, right? You would have in the Fiesta Bowl, you would have Oklahoma taking on Notre Dame, and in the Orange Bowl, you would have Clemson taking on Cincinnati. And then you would play those games, December 31st, January 1st, January 2nd. In those 3 days, right? You play in those 3 days. And then maybe a week, 10 days later, however long it takes, right? For the rest on a Saturday, because you wouldn't want to do it on a Sunday. Although even though we're getting into the playoff, the NFL playoffs, and the playoffs, they go on both Saturday and Sunday, still. But you would, what you would want is you have a playoff, and then you'd have 2 playoff games, and then you would go by ranking. So let's just say in those scenarios, right? Let's just say in those scenarios, Clemson would win, Alabama would win, Ohio State would win, and Notre Dame would win, right? So let's just say that. Let's say that, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you would have a game. You would have one game on Saturday and Sunday, right? Yeah, you got one game on Saturday, one game on Sunday. You would have, 2 versus 3, which would be the same as it is now, Clemson, Ohio State, and 1 versus 4, Clemson versus Ohio State. And then you would choose a place, from one of the bowls, either one of the 4 games that use bowls, or a place that's not being used for a playoff game. Because all 4 stadiums are pro stadiums. The Orange Bowl is for the Miami Dolphins. That stadium, Sun Life Stadium, I believe it's called. The Fiesta Bowl is the University of Phoenix Stadium used by the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, the Rose Bowl. Well, actually, that's the thing. The Rose Bowl is used by. It's normally the Rose Bowl is where USC play, so it's not used by anybody. So you could probably use the Rose Bowl, for both squads, and then you have the and then you have the Sugar Bowl, which is New Orleans. So you could do both. You could do both. You could have it as there. You could have both at the semifinals games could be at the Rose Bowl. And then maybe even the national championship game could be at the Rose. And then that's just the way you do, right? The national championship game could be at the Rose Bowl, or if you want to do that, because the way the games are, like you said, again, you could maybe have your championship game the Saturday before championship Sunday. You could have your championship game the Saturday before championship Sunday. And then that way you could figure, it wouldn't make a difference if it's gonna be, and then you could rotate, between anything. You could have it at Texas Stadium. You could have it at the big stadium in Arlington, where Jerry World. You can have it in Los Angeles, where the Clippers and the Rams and Chargers play. You can have it at you can have it in Las Vegas. You can have it anywhere you wanted it to. This is going to be on a Saturday. So, but the semifinals game have to be at the Rose Bowl, and that's the way, and that's how you would do it, right? That's and I think it makes a lot more sense to do it that way. So I am now all for an 8-team playoff, having the 8-team used that way. And yeah, I tweeted that I need to ask the other guys their opinions on that. I need to maybe tweet Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit and those people and see if those guys what do they think. But that's how I would go about it. And of course, you can still have all of your bowl games, have all of your other things. We got some good bowl games. The Cotton Bowl Classic, Florida versus Oklahoma, number 7 versus number 6. That's going to be good. Citrus Bowl, Northwestern versus Auburn. Northwestern seems to always win these bowl games. They are in the Fiesta Bowl. Oregon versus Iowa State is going to be a really good one. The Orange Bowl, Texas A&M and UNC, that should be fantastic as well. So some really, really good stuff. Army, who didn't have a bowl at 9-2, they are now playing in the Liberty Bowl against Virginia because their team pulled out. I think another bowl game has been unfortunately canceled because South Carolina has come down with a bunch of COVID issues, so they decided to pull out. And who knows if these bowls stay the same? But hopefully at least there's nothing to worry about for the college football playoff games. And so yeah, and you make sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube channel because I will be doing a rapid reaction to the college football championship, January 11th, my birthday, over on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/AJTRIP20, or search AJTRIP in the YouTube search bar. Make sure you go subscribe and click the notification bell so that when I go live, you can be there and we can talk about the college football championship game. Yeah, it should be a blast. Now let's take a look at this past week in the National Football League. We go back to last Thursday. Very good game between the Chargers and the Raiders. We're seeing more and more how much Justin Herbert is going to be a star in this league if he stays healthy, and I hope it happens. Great game between the two teams. Went into overtime. Raiders drove the field, took most of the time off the clock, couldn't score a touchdown, kicked the field goal, but Justin Herbert drove him right down the field and scored a touchdown to end the game 30-27. Fantastic game. Saturday, the Buffalo Bills clinched the NFC East for the first time since 1995 with a drubbing of the Denver Broncos 48-19. Josh Allen continuing to look like a superstar in the making. The Packers beat on up on the Panthers 24-16 again Saturday night. We go to Sunday. The Colts slipped by the Texans 27-20. The Titans drubbed the Lions 46-10. The Bears, after losing 6 games, my Bears are on a 3-game winning streak. Is it a 3-game winning streak? No, it's a 2-game winning streak. Yeah, 2-game winning streak. Yes, I almost forgot there for a minute. It's a 2-game winning streak. They beat the Vikings 33-27. They have put themselves in position to make the last spot. And if somehow the NFL decides that they want to go to 8 teams, they're in the 8th spot. So they put themselves in a good position to make the playoffs. The Seahawks beat the football team 20-15. Dolphins beat the Patriots 22-12. Signifying that for the first time since 2002, the New England Patriots will not make the playoffs. Wow, that's amazing. The Ravens beat the Jaguars 40-14. Buccaneers came back from 10 down. I believe this is the 4th loss for the Falcons this year, where they've had a lead of 14 points or more and lost it. Unreal. Buccaneers win 31-27. The Cowboys beat the 49ers. Cowboys are somehow still not eliminated from the NFC East picture. That's because everybody else keeps losing. The Eagles lost to the Cardinals 33-26. The Jets win their first game of the season. And by doing that, they now go from Trevor Lawrence to Justin Fields. They beat the Rams in a horrible loss for the Rams. You didn't want to lose to the Jets. But somehow the Rams still have a way of not only making the playoffs, but winning their division and still have a shot at the number 1 seed if Green Bay were to lose 2 straight, and same thing with the Saints. Unreal. Speaking of the Saints, they lost to the Chiefs 32-29. The Browns beat the Giants 20-6, and the Bengals, shockingly, beat the Steelers on Monday Night Football 27-17. Okay, so I think we're going to do something different. I'm not going to go over all of the games. I'm just going to go over some of the playoff scenarios. Let's start with the AFC. The Cleveland Browns, they're at the New York Jets. Cleveland can clinch the playoff berth. Apologize for that. The Cleveland Browns can clinch the playoff berth with a win or a Baltimore loss or tie, a Miami loss or tie, an Indianapolis loss, or they tie and Baltimore loses, or they tie and Miami loses. So, yes, that's the thing. You can go to NFL.com/news, NFL playoff clinching scenarios for Week 16 of the 2020 season. That is where I'm getting this from, in case I'm talking too fast or you don't understand it or whatever. So they have it right there. You can go there and check it out. For the Indianapolis Colts, they can clinch a playoff berth with a win and a Baltimore loss or tie, a win or a Miami loss or tie. They can tie and Baltimore loses, or if they tie and Miami loses. So many scenarios, again, 4 scenarios for the Colts to clinch a playoff berth, as they are playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kansas City Chiefs already clinched the playoff berth, but they can clinch the first round bye with a win or tie. 2, a Pittsburgh loss or tie. 3, Buffalo loss or tie. Or 4, they can clinch the strength of victory tiebreaker over Pittsburgh and Buffalo and clinch at least a tie and a strength of victory tiebreaker over other clubs. I have no idea what the hell that means. So, I guess it's only 3 scenarios. They can only clinch the first round bye. The Steelers, who are against the Colts, clinches the AFC North Division title with a win. Or they can clinch it with a Cleveland loss, or they can clinch it if both them and Cleveland ties. That seems to be a little more easier, right? The Titans, who are at Green Bay on Sunday night, they can clinch the AFC South Division title with a win over the Green Bay Packers and an Indianapolis loss. They can clinch a playoff berth if they win, or if Miami loses, or if Baltimore loses, or if they and Baltimore tie. Those are scenarios for the AFC teams. For the NFC teams, here we go. The Arizona Cardinals, they can clinch a playoff berth with an Arizona win or a Chicago loss or tie, or they tie and Chicago loses. Chicago's playing Jacksonville. They're playing the San Francisco 49ers. It's supposed to be a road game, but they're going to be playing in their home stadium because the county of Santa Clara has decided no contact sports while we're in this, the virus is sparking up. So amazing. They're gonna be it's going to be a road game at home for the Arizona Cardinals. Unreal. The Green Bay Packers. Packers can clinch a first round bye with a win and a Seattle loss or tie. Second scenario, they tie. New Orleans loses or ties, and Seattle loses or ties. But if they tie, and both New Orleans and Seattle tie, then they don't get it. Once again, NFL.com, NFL playoff scenarios for Week 16 of the 2020 season. If you're having trouble getting this as I'm reading it to you, so that you can see it in full. The Los Angeles Rams, they can clinch a playoff berth with a Rams win or tie. Scenario 2, a Chicago Bear loss or tie, or 3, an Arizona win or tie. The Saints can clinch the NFC South division title by winning, number 1. Number 2, by the Buccaneers losing, or 3, both New Orleans and Tampa Bay tying. Now, New Orleans is playing the Minnesota Vikings on Christmas, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be playing the Detroit Lions Saturday afternoon. The Seattle Seahawks, they're taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Very simple. They can clinch the NFC West just by winning. That's all they need to happen. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like we said, they're at Detroit Saturday afternoon. They clinch the playoff berth by winning or tying, or they need Chicago to lose or tie. The Washington football team, finally, they're taking on the Carolina Panthers Sunday afternoon. The Washington football team can clinch the Eastern Division with a win and a New York Giants loss or tie, or if they tie, they would need the Giants to lose and a Philadelphia Dallas Cowboys tie, as Philadelphia are taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Is it Saturday or Sunday? We're taking it on Sunday afternoon. The Eagles and Cowboys tie, and the Giants lose, while the Washington football team ties the Carolina Panthers. Then that's another way for them to get in. Once again, go to NFL.com, news, NFL playoff clincher scenarios for Week 16, and what I just read to you is right there, and you can read it for yourself. And finally, the NBA started up. Like we said, there were 2 games last night. There was a bunch more games happening tonight. It's the quickest off season in the history of the National Basketball Association. We know why, because of the coronavirus outbreak. But it's glad to have the NBA back. And let's go ahead and we're going to go through really quick. I'm not going to do an in-depth review on the NBA and going through of things of the losses, the things like that. I kind of think that is. Because I used to do it, but I also kind of think, I also kind of wonder and think that if that makes even any difference to go through each and every team, 30 teams, the losses, the ads, and things like that, for the NBA in particular, because I don't know if people necessarily want that type of in-depth. If you do, please let me know, and I will make sure to, when I do this next year for the NBA, I will go in-depth. I would actually just make a special edition just for the NBA predictions and everything like that. So please let me know. But I think more people are more into football and I have to get more in depth with football. That's why I go more in depth in football with the football stuff, not with basketball or with baseball or anything like that. So, but I'm not gonna go too much in depth. We're just gonna quickly go over some of the awards that I'm going to predict. Predicting the Western and Eastern Conference Finals, predicting the NBA Finals and the NBA Finals MVP. Okay, so, and maybe this is recently biased because I just watched the game last night. But for me, the MVP will be Kevin Durant. If he stays healthy, I think he is going to take the Nets on a wild ride, and I think him and Kyrie is going to be good. And who knows if they get James Harden somewhere along the way, whether where did that take them or not. But I think right now they don't really need James Harden. They look to be a good team on the rise, and and we knew it when Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving both signed last summer or 2 summers ago, whatever it was with the Nets. So Kevin Durant going to be my MVP. My rookie of the year, I'm going with LaMelo Ball. I think LaMelo is going to. I'm not sure if he's going to score the most. I'm not even sure if he's going to assist the most, rebound the most, anything. But I think he may be the best overall player in doing all of those things at once. And I think he's going to have some flashy passes, some flashy moves, and he's going to be on SportsCenter and every other highlight and all over Twitter and things like that. So I'm going to choose LaMelo Ball of the Charlotte Hornets as the Rookie of the Year. Most improved player, I'm going with Michael Porter Jr. I just think this was a steal and a half for the Denver Nuggets, and I think along with him and Jokic and Jamal Murray, I think this is going to be fantabulous. I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to skyrocket this year. He's going to be maybe make an All-Star team. Denver Nuggets may have 3 All-Stars, believe it or not. Who knows if they'll play the All-Star game, but that doesn't matter. They'll at least announce them. So I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to be the most improved player this year. 6th Man of the Year, I am going with Rajon Rondo of the Atlanta Hawks. I think that he will help the Hawks in many of ways, and I think he is going to be someone who comes off that bench and he leads the second squad. He'll when they get down in late crunch time, he'll be on the floor with Trae Young, and he'll probably, because Trae Young's a smaller guy, so he may defend. Maybe if it's a bigger guard or faster guard, he may defend and let Trae Young go on one of the other guards or something like that, who is either smaller or who is not that offensive of a threat, so if you can believe it or not. But I'm predicting Rajon Rondo to be your 6th Man of the Year for the Atlanta Hawks. Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go with Anthony Davis of the Los Angeles Lakers. I think Anthony Davis is going to be a big time eraser on the boards. I think he's going to be a guy who can defend all 5 positions on the court throughout the year. I think he's going to be an incredible force to be reckoned with. I think he may be the guy who is number 2 behind Kevin Durant. It won't be LeBron who gets second place. It's going to be Anthony Davis who gets second place behind Kevin Durant for the MVP. But he will win Defensive Player of the Year. At least that's what I'm predicting. The Coach of the Year, I'm going with Steve Nash of the Brooklyn Nets. I think Brooklyn's going to be number 1. And another surprise, I do like what the Hawks are doing. I think the Hawks are going to jump miles above a lot of teams, and I'm going to choose Lloyd Pierce to be co-coaches of the year. Lloyd Pierce, coach of the Hawks, Steve Nash, coach of the Nets. They will be co-coaches of the year. In the Western Conference Finals, I have the Lakers over the Clippers 4-3. In the Eastern Conference Finals, I have the Nets over the Bucks 4-3. Note there, even though I have Lloyd Pierce, I don't think that they're going to make it that far. I still think the Bucks and the Heat and the Celtics are much more talented teams than the Hawks. I think so that when it comes to the Hawks may have the 2nd or 3rd best record in the regular season, I think when it comes to the playoffs, they'll get bounced. It's almost like the Bucks, maybe in the 2nd round, maybe even in the 1st round, depending on the matchup they get. But I think it's the Nets over the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Meaning in the NBA Finals, the Nets and the Lakers, I'm choosing the Nets over the Lakers 4-3. Fully admit this. This is more or less of, again, a pick against LeBron. than it is anything else. Because I'm sick and tired of you idiots out there saying that LeBron's better than Jordan. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. It's talking to you, Nick Wright, moron. Um, so please, let's stop this. And we have and I hate to do this because I don't want to root against LeBron. I would like to sit back, relax, and enjoy the greatness that is LeBron. But I have to root against him because of all you morons. So I am choosing the Nets to beat the Lakers. For LeBron to go, what would that be? Would that be 4-8, 4-9, maybe even 4-10? Who knows? But he would once again lose in the NBA Finals, and he would lose to the NBA Finals MVP for a third time, Kevin Durant. So there's all my predictions for the NBA. Hopefully, we do have a good season with the vaccine happening and maybe this thing coming down. Maybe we can get to a full season. They've only given us half of the schedule, the first 36 games of the season. I think I like this, the way they're doing it for this year. And then we're going to come back if we can still do this, if we don't need to shut down anything. They're going to come back with another 36 games and then the playoffs and everything like that. So, and hopefully we don't need a bubble. Hopefully fans will be back sometime, maybe after April or May, and for all sports, and that'll be such a good thing to have. So, let's go NBA. Let's have fun. And as they used to say back in the 80s, NBA action is fantastic. All right, y'all. Thank you guys so much for listening. We got one more game according to me regular episode next week of the 2020. We're going to talk about I believe that we may talk a little bit about the first week of the NBA. If there's any big stories, the stuff with James Harden is incredible. Who never knows like this? But next week it should just be mainly just about the NFL and the playoff scenarios and everything like that going into week 17, the final week of the NBA of the NFL season. With anything else that is happening in the world of sports, we may dig into that. In the world of professional wrestling, we talk wrestling here as well. Even though we didn't talk this week about TLC, but I wanted to do more about the NBA and the NBA stuff. So in the college football stuff, I want to make sure to get all of that in. So we didn't talk about TLC in this week, but that's okay. You can go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/AJTRIP20. Search AJTRIP in the search bar, and you can look at my rapid reaction of Table Lads and Chairs from this past Sunday. But yeah, so the next week, there is another special episode of the Game According to Me coming out soon. Sometime in the next couple of days, definitely before next week's regular episode of the Game According to Me. The biggest pet peeves in sports. My biggest pet peeves in sports, what I feel some things I can't stand, these things, and so that should be coming out for you guys soon. Hope you guys will enjoy that. Yeah, it's great times, and then we'll see where it takes us in the new year. This podcast will continue throughout the playoffs until the Super Bowl. When the Super Bowl happens, I believe we will. I'm still trying to figure out, because normally last year I did my podcast after the Super Bowl, things like that. But I think this year I'm either going to do one or two things. I'm either going to have the podcast come out the Wednesday after the Super Bowl, discover that set, or what I'm going to do is I'll probably upload the audio from my rapid reaction to the Super Bowl on my YouTube channel, and then I will upload that as the Game According to Me as part of the podcast the next day. So either way, we're gonna go through the Super Bowl, and then who knows? Normally, I've done podcasts every other week, or sometimes I missed weeks at a time. when it comes to non-football season. But that's not something that I don't want to do this year. I want to do something that is more consistent, more consistently of a podcast. And even because, to be honest, it's very hard to talk about. It's very easy to talk about. At least for me, it's very easy to talk about football. You know, during the podcast, during the football season, and you can talk about it every week. I love it. As much as I love basketball and baseball and things like that, sometimes it's kind of hard to talk about um, those things throughout the throughout the regular season because either you just don't know. So you can't watch every it's every day, and every day that's a different story. You can't go by each and every different game. So. And then one wonders is that should I even have a a type of you know you know thing should I have another podcast just for some other things? So who knows? There's a bunch of things that I think is going on here. So we'll have to wait and see. But I do know that I do want to do more podcasts that are not football related after the football season is happening. So, and of course, we're going to have a lot of stuff. We're going to have free agency. We're going to have the draft, things like that. Things are going to be breaking down all season long. So there's always going to be football talk. It's just the thing is it how much of it will it be? So, but yeah. So stay with me, you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can make sure you go to patreon.com/AJTRIP to become a patron. Once we hit a certain amount of patrons, then you can let me know what you would like to hear me talk about on my podcast. You can also let me know what you want to see me, kind of videos you want me to do for my YouTube channel, or what games you'd like for me to play on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ATRIP20. If you are a gamer, make sure you go there and you follow me, you subscribe, and all that other good stuff. Or if you don't want to be a patron, you can support me directly from my host, Anchor.fm. Make sure it says Andre Triple Show, and you can go there and you can support me from as little as 99 cents a month to $9.99 a month. It's your choice. And it's your choice on Patreon as well. Or you can not choose to support me at all and just listen. That is supporting me in a maybe not in a monetarily way, but it's supporting me in a way that you are listening and you are liking my podcast and you are sharing my podcast hopefully, and that is very appreciated. I appreciate that very much. Thank you guys again so much for listening. Everybody out there, have a Merry Christmas. Be safe, and as always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.